A ruling from the Alabama Supreme Court that frozen embryos are considered children and that a person could be held liable for accidentally destroying them has opened up a new front in the U.S. battle over reproductive medicine. The southern U.S. state's largest hospital has paused its in-vitro fertilisation, IVF services in the wake of the decision, over fears it could expose them to criminal prosecution. The University of Alabama at Birmingham Health System said it would continue retrieving eggs from women's ovaries, but it said it would halt the next step in the IVF process, in which the eggs are fertilized with sperm before being implanted into the uterus. "We are saddened that this will impact our patients' attempt to have a baby through IVF," the leading state medical provider said in a statement. "But we must evaluate the potential that our patients and our physicians could be prosecuted criminally or face punitive damages for following the standard of care for IVF treatments." Medical experts and reproductive advocacy groups warned the ruling could have negative consequences for fertility treatments in Alabama and beyond. Conservative groups welcomed the ruling, arguing that even the tiniest embryo deserved legal protection. Why did this lawsuit occur, and what did the court rule? The case stems from a wrongful death lawsuit brought by 3 couples whose embryos were lost at a fertility clinic in 2020. A patient had wandered into the place where the embryos were stored, handled them, and accidentally dropped them. As a result, the embryos were destroyed. The couples sought to sue the Center for Reproductive Medicine and the Mobile Infirmary Association under the state's Wrongful Death of a Minor Act. That law covers fetuses but did not specifically cover embryos resulting from IVF. A lower court had ruled that the embryos did not qualify as a person or child and that a wrongful death lawsuit could not move forward. But in its ruling, the Alabama Supreme Court sided with the couples and ruled that frozen embryos were considered children. The wrongful death law applied to all unborn children regardless of their location, the decision said. Concurring with the majority opinion, Chief Justice Tom Parker wrote, "Even before birth, all human beings have the image of God, and their lives cannot be destroyed without effacing His glory." What are the implications for Alabama fertility patients? The ruling does not ban or restrict IVF, and in fact, the couples who brought the case actively sought out the procedure. But the decision may cause confusion about whether some aspects of IVF are legal under Alabama law, experts say. If an embryo is considered a person, it could raise questions about how clinics are allowed to use and store them. Elizabeth Smith, Director of State Policy at the Center for Reproductive Rights, told the BBC in a statement, "Not all IVF embryos are used, nor can they be. To enact legislation granting legal personhood to embryos could have disastrous consequences for the use of IVF, a science many people rely on to build their families. Ambiguity over the law could also extend to patients themselves, who may worry about whether the procedure remains available or legal." The Medical Association of the state of Alabama said in a statement, "The significance of this decision impacts all Alabamians and will likely lead to fewer babies, children, grandchildren, nieces, nephews, and cousins, as fertility options become limited for those who want to have a family." How does this tie in with the U.S. abortion debate? When the U.S. Supreme Court struck down a nationwide right to abortion in 2022, it opened the door for states to make their own laws on the issue. Since the decision, Democratic-controlled states have expanded access, while Republican-controlled states have restricted it. Alabama already has a total ban on abortion at all stages of pregnancy. The White House called the Alabama ruling exactly the type of chaos that we expected when the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade and paved the way for politicians to dictate some of the most personal decisions families can make. Abortion opponents are also watching this ruling closely. The question of when an embryo or a fetus is legally considered a person is a factor in many state abortion restrictions.